Hello and welcome to this week's Roker Rapport Podcast. I'm your host James Copley, and joining me this week we have James Nichols. How are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm not too bad. No, it's nice of you to ask.
You're welcome.
Nobody ever asked me how I am. We have podcast producer Chris Cam. How are you, mate?
I'm not so bad.
And our special guest this week is none other than the son of Pele, Martin Smith. How are you, Martin?
Oh, very well, thanks. Thanks for having us here.
Good stuff. We'll jump into the three-word review. On Saturday, we were left bitterly disappointed by a 1-1 draw away to Leeds, and despite performing well, the result leaves us with relegation all but mathematically confirmed. Andy Maguire says, draw wholly inadequate. Martin says, the best supporter. Andy Cook says, not so bad. Bomb Diggity says, bring back Beadling. Kieran Asquith says, home by 5. Ryan Pallister, too fucking late. Jacob says, touch my gooch. Nige says, two shit teams. Alf Bibby says, poor defending again. Paul O'Leary, Accrington Stanley away. This is about the fourth time in a row he's sent that in, but it's still funny, I suppose. Frankie Charlton, Mags and Meltdown. Kev Simmons played with passion. Tom, too late mate. Daniel Jenkins delayed the inevitable. Elliot Hearn, what's the point? Kev, another fine mess. James Nichols, banged then banned.
See more about that later.
Yeah, we'll get on to that later. Right, the performance. It was a performance to be proud of, really. The lads were unlucky. Paddy McNair took the lead with a thunderbolt. What did you make of it, Chris?
I'm so excited to see Paddy McNair score. Not only to play, but to score such a good goal. Donald Love with the assist. He looked like Roberto Carlos down the right hand side. Unbelievable.
Pass,
he was really good. He was sort of like a disguised, like a chip through the defence, wasn't it? It was lovely.
Outside of his boot.
Aye, really nice.
Done love.
But it was just it was exactly what you wanted to see, because second half we weathered a bit of a storm from Leeds and sort of came out having put on a nice little spell towards the end of that half, and you could see Coleman had obviously got into them at half time and got them to bring a bit of energy from the first whistle, and to get an early goal was a massive boost.
The result doesn't really do much for us though, Martin, does it?
No, it doesn't. It's said Birmingham managed to pick up a point as well, and Barnsley got a result. So again, you look at the table. It's going to be a massive effort and a massive series of results to mean we could stay up, but the last three performances in the home way they've all been sort of better, but just too little too late, really.
And where have these performances been earlier in the season, James? What's happened?
Well, we've seen glimpses of it under Coleman. There was a couple of games early on. There was a Fulham, obviously, home game. Fulham just played exactly right into our hands, but we play better against teams who usually play possession football. All throughout this season, we played better against sort of teams like Fulham, even under Grayson with Norwich. Nottingham Forest played possession football at home. There was the scene that again with Derby tried to, but they were horrendous. And then Leeds, they like to keep the ball on the ground and play, and we can kind of just like championship shithouse them, if I'm honest. That's what we've done, really. Just worked hard and got the result and the effort put in. But the last three games, it's even Sheffield Wednesday was an awful defeat, and I don't think the performance was that good, but the effort was there. I couldn't fault them whatsoever. And if we'd just seen more of this previously, like we'd seen all we want as Sunderland fans are the players to play the shirt, put their effort in. And obviously, Martin yourself knows how your playing style back in the day was. Everything was just all about the effort. Yeah, the work rate.
I mean, as you say, just the Sheffield Wednesday game. When I say it was what you said. The effort was there. You know what I mean? But I think it was just that bit of quality again, and the set piece defending. Just that sort of stuff's just been the story of the season, isn't it? And as you say, them teams, as you've mentioned, possession based. We ain't the quickest, we ain't the most mobile, so them teams do suit us because they give us a chance to get in behind the ball. Yeah, you know, that suits us. You're absolutely spot on with that.
We did have a bit of quality on the bench, although he is a rough diamond in Joe Lasoro. Coleman waited until pretty much the game was done until he brought him on. As a former pro, Martin, could you understand his reasoning behind that, or do you think he should have been introduced a bit earlier?
I think I think he, at the minute, I've seen him since he's sort of come to the clubs. I've watched a lot of the youth team football, and he is raw, and I think his best stuff at the minute is an impact player, but as you say, he probably's got to come on a bit earlier, and I think it's been one of the maybe his only criticisms of Chris, especially I think a few of the games he's left it very late. As you say, Saturday, prime example with Joe. You said he probably should have been on. We all know we have to win the game, so it would have been good to see him earlier.
Do you think it's maybe because he didn't see a particular bad performance in order to take somebody off sooner? Because I think we did play quite well for that entire. I mean, that second half, you sort of like tough to pick out an individual player who could go, all right, we can take him out now. He's sort of dropped off the pace a bit. in order to bring somebody else on.
It was just slightly odd though, because Ashley Fletcher, although he had a good game, looked absolutely.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
It reminded me a bit of the first home game of the season under Grayson, where he didn't bring Kazri on and he just kept it. He kept it the same, and I could understand why he did it then, and I could understand why Coleman repeated that, because you kind of want continuity at times when something's working. If the game becomes too stretched, then you could lose it yourself. So
the interesting thing is that Coleman has shown that he can do this previously. He's changed it when we're poor, but he's also changed it when we're in the ascendancy. At home to Fulham, it was 0-0. Vaughan and Graben actually had a really impressive performance, and they probably should have put one of numerous headers where they both had from Matthews cutting in on the left. They had some really good chances and they linked up very well. But Coleman, seeing that we needed a change, needed a bit of pace and impetus in behind, and I think it was about the hour mark, he put obviously the double substitution for Osoro Maja on for Graben and Vaughan, and that lifted the whole stadium, and it changed. That was a really early sub as well. He's shown in the past that he can make that change to get what he needed, but he didn't at the weekend, and I think he should have. Like I'm not going to be critical of Coleman here. I think it's a waste of time in the position that we're in, but he has made mistakes. Every manager makes mistakes, just as every player makes mistakes. These things happen. It's a human part of the game.
That's the thing. It's only in hindsight that it's a mistake. You know what I mean? If he did make a change and that player was awful, then Coleman's made a mistake for doing the change. It's just it's all. The trouble is with Sunderland, it's all in hindsight. We can say like, well, we should have done this and should have done that, and it goes back for years. Yeah,
it does. One player who impressed was Lyndon Gooch, man of the match performance. We're going to need him next season in players of his ilk, aren't we?
Yes, absolutely. He was absolutely superb against Leeds. They didn't have an answer for him.
The interesting thing about Gooch is that he's got a little bit of pace and he's got a little bit of strength, but he doesn't necessarily have a lot of either. He's like a very all-round player, but
he's very like stocky in a wide sense.
Robust, he is.
Yeah.
That's the one thing you've always said, watching him down the years. It's the one thing you always knew you're going to get from him is 100%. He's one of them constantly. He'll give it everything. At times, some of the quality's not there, but he's still a young lad. But you can see, as I said, even yesterday, and the ball he put in for George on Monday, there's quality in there. And as you get older, that comes out more and more. So as you say, he's going to be an important part of next season and ongoing, really.
Yeah, we need to keep him.
That leads us on to next season's squad as well. Which players do we think have to leave?
Jack Rodwell.
Jack Rodwell.
Has he not gone yet?
Pounding the swear jar.
Yeah, it's been the same for the last few years. You can write a list of who you want to go, but it's find somebody to actually pay them the money that they're on here somewhere else, and there's nobody on this earth is going to pay Jack Rodwell anywhere near what he's on here. So you're hoping a deal can be done, or maybe the Chinese Super League, somebody will just come and throw money at the name, not the actual what he's done over the last 2-3 years.
His name's too strong anymore. Jack Rodwell's brand's on the decline.
It is.
People in the game know about this, what happens behind the scenes, and what happened with Rodwell has not even happened behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's happened in public gallery, hasn't it?
It's going to take a hope for like some managerial charlatan like Moyes, who's panicking in January and hope for the best for him to come in with like £1 million offer or something derisory.
I don't think even Moyes would panic that hard. You know what I mean? And if he was, he'd probably sign Gibson instead of Rodwell.
So we're in full agreement that we need to build next season's squad around the likes of Honeyman, Osoro if he stays. All of that doesn't look likely. Madger, Gooch, you've got Ethan Robson coming through. We've got a couple of players out on loan that are doing well that might come back. Who do you want to go, Chris? Name two players you need to go that need to leave Sunderland forevermore, never come back.
We're not counting loan players.
No,
I think
permanent.
I think Lamine Kone, as much as he's played well recently, he's just I mean, he could prove me wrong if he did stay, but he's too big an ego for League One. I think it would be he would totally switch off,
and he hasn't looked like he gives a fuck for most of the season.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like he has put in some good performances, and we do look better defensively with him in the team, but he has to go. Maybe even just for his career. Never mind.
I think that's because he's just his level is so much higher than what he's playing at the moment, and he's going to stand out again next season if he does stay at League and when we're in League One.
Yeah, he looks like he's our best defender, and he looks like he's our best passer of the ball at times. He comes out from the back, and he's sort of John O'Shea would turn around and pass it back to his keeper. Coney's always pushing it forward. He probably. Yeah. I'd love to see the stats for how many forward passes he plays compared to the likes of Catamol.
The thing is, like, you can have attackers who don't necessarily want to be here, but it kind of. It's accentuated more when you're a defender, because defending for me is 90% concentration. It's all concentration, anticipation. A lot of it's mentality. I mean, there was an interview with Joran Boateng, and he was on Players Tribune, and he was saying that the most important aspect of defending is your mind.
Yeah.
And if your mind's not in the game, if your head's not in there, if you're not in Sunderland, You can't concentrate and anticipate and read the game like that for 90 minutes.
Yeah, and he definitely won't be in League One.
With defending as well, you've got to have the desire to defend.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that,
100%.
when the balls are going in the box and there's people not wanting to go and head the ball and challenge people. And I think, as I say with Corney, I think he's one of them at times. He's thinking, do I really want to go and get hurt for this football
I think he's
club?
afraid to put his
And
body on the line.
and I don't think, as he's going, I don't think he would bother one little bit in League One.
How conscious of that were you when you were playing? Did you actively think, if this ball's coming into the box, then I'm getting my head there no matter what for this football club?
I was always perceived as a bit of a short put, like a classic winger. But I can honestly put my hand on my heart and say, if it was in my box, their box, or if I was in the wall, I would make sure I got me as best I could get my head on it. I'd get struck by the ball, But these days you see a lot of it, and you just think. I mean, you see some people in the wall and they're just turning their backs and you're thinking, how can you get away with that? How can your teammate let you do that? How can you walk in the dressing room after the game knowing you've done that?
Do you think that was unique to your time at Sunderland because of the connection you had to the area? Or
No, I think just in football, Jen, I think it's changed a bit.
Yeah.
And then, as you say, it's I think throughout for the desire to sort of defend and put your body on the line. I think it has changed.
I think
quite
the one
a bit.
thing that lets them keep the head held high is that massive checkbook they've got in the pocket.
Yeah.
Probably.
I mean, there's one or two I've heard like that there, but I've heard a lot of the players coming for criticism during the season, and I have a degree of sympathy. I think we've got young lads who've probably playing now who could have been blooded earlier in the learning on the job in a very, very difficult situation. Then you've got a couple of senior players who's probably had the best days and probably shouldn't be playing every week. They'll probably, so I think there's been a lot of that, but I think there's one or two who've sat back and just been happy to picking the money up.
Yeah. Nichols, who'd you get rid of?
Rodwell, of course. I don't think I've despised the Sunderland player as much as that man in a long time. And the other one, it's difficult because obviously you say like people like Cattermole and O'Shea have underperformed, but the legs have gone. O'Shea's 37 now, he shouldn't be playing 40 odd games a season. Lee Cattermole's had a career blighted by injury and injection to get him back, and it's just taken its toll.
Don't you think he's looked a lot better since Paddy McNair's been next to him though?
But to say, like Paddy McNair's, his athleticism, his energy in midfield protects Cattermole a lot. Like Ndong protected Cattermole when he was here. Ndong wasn't the best, but he's pure stamina in the middle of the park, protected a lot of Cattermole's.
Against Leeds, Cattermole did his role perfectly. He sat in front of the back four, just paroled around the edge of our box and just tried to pick out players. There was a couple of times he was stood in midfield and like Leeds forwards would just go around him and they wouldn't even, like he wasn't even there. But that again, that's just part of his body not allowing him to do that anymore. But the part that he could do with his mind and accepting passes, and he did do that.
It's like the McNair and Honeyman kind of partnership either side of Cattermole, like protects Cattermole a little bit like what Gooch and Honeyman did with Gibson when there was three in midfield when Coleman first took over. It's quite similar. Like he's going for the same approach again. The second player would be Jolly if I'm going to count him. I think he's probably the most incompetent defender I've ever seen pulling Sunderland.
You see, we might get a bit of money for him though because he's doing well for Dijon. He's broken back into the Senegal squad. He's playing all right. Dijon are like a side that should be in a relegation scrap, but they're at the mid-table now.
You might cut the mustard for Dijon, but not for Sunderland.
Oh, damn.
Boom.
But yeah, we'll
finish it there. That's it.
We could do with clearing out the players out on loan. Really, could we? Kazri probably. Lenz is already gone. Barini will probably already.
That was one of the ideas of why they was sent so many on loan now. Then because we had the 30 million for Pickford in the summer, with the 2 million for Mannone, which looks like a financially horrendous decision. But then Lenz, Barini, Wabi Kazri and Djilabodji all being out on loan, if they've all got permanent deals to sign at the end, if they meet the clauses, that gives us more income for the season, for after the season's ended. I
realised that when this season ends and if Cardiff get promoted, Lee Camp could go and be a Premier League goalkeeper.
Well, he's welcome to, as long as he's not here. He's not been very good. He's a weird one, Lee Camp, because he's been a great keeper for quite a while in the Championship until the last few years, and
he's made a few great saves in the last couple of games as well. To be fair,
in fairness, he did save one with his knee against Leeds that was decent.
I'd give him a couple of saves against Leeds. He kept us in the game. Like.
I mean, a few of them. He's a bit remember Richard Kingston for Blackpool? Remember we played Blackpool at home and DJ Campbell scored twice and they beat us 2-0. We must have had about 40 shots on target and Richard Kingston was like diving to the left, the ball went to the right and he'd save it with his foot. But like complete accident. Like Camp at times reminds me a little bit like that. It's like Coleman just went down to the Peacock, found some bloke who's been having a pint of Smiths and he's like, I don't want to come play for Sunderland, and he's just jumping the wrong way and grabbing it. But he did make some good saves, so fair enough to him.
Mark, what do you make of the goalkeeping options this season?
I can never ever remember a worse situation in my time supporting Sunderland. To have 3 goalkeepers who haven't really done anything, like it's staggering. As you say, going back to Vito, that was probably a cost-cutting exercise. It's probably they've probably spent more on the 3 they've brought in, wages-wise and stuff like that. It's none of them inspire you with confidence. And you look at the Sheffield, I know Wilson had it in his own goal, but where it's been headed, and the keeper just hasn't even made any attempt to come off his line, and you're like, and it spreads, and it's again, I think the back four just haven't any confidence in the keeper, and the keepers haven't any confidence in themselves. It looks like at the minute.
Yeah, it's kind of snowballed throughout the season.
Yeah. But Steele, I think even the Celtic game, that was a friendly,
was awful,
and he looked so nervous and shaky, and think, well, this would be interesting to see how you go, and he never really improved from there.
A goalkeeper's as mad and enigmatic as they're sometimes depicted. Because
some of them are, they're like, I look at Camp and I think he looks a bit like, I can imagine him being lively, but I think Jason Steele looks totally the opposite.
Yeah, he looks scared when he comes out on the pitch.
He just looks frightened at that first home game. And if you're getting the impression as that from a fan, what's your back four thinking? You know,
every time he comes, like I sit in the back of the south stand, every time he comes anywhere near the south stand, it's just like head down, like he'll clap once or twice, like obligatory thing.
But it's not the I'm number one. It's just
it doesn't inspire. He doesn't like he inspires himself confidence. Never mind fans and players.
No,
I do feel for the bloke, but he would be my pick to leave. I think Jason Steele in the summer, if we could get anything from him. I think he's
signed a 5-year contract, didn't he? Was it 4 or 5?
I think he's got 3 years left.
And again, that's a keeper who's been released from Blackburn. Why are you giving him that length of contract? He'd have signed 2 years. You know, it's just the constant, just like baffling decisions that have come out of that club.
That red card against QPR, how can he be so positionally unaware that he's 5 yards outside his box and he's just got over tapping it? I think it was a week or 2 before that we were at Millwall away, and I mentioned my mate in the first half, like Steele had a really good game that game, and he made a brilliant save just before they scored the equaliser, unfortunately, but he made a really good save in the second half. But early on in the first, there was a long ball over the top towards Morrison, and it was just way overhit, and Steele went out for it, completely misjudged it, but luckily he was in his box and took a couple of steps back and caught it. And he'd done exactly the same thing in the second half against Millwall, and then exactly the same thing against QPR, and finally got punished for it. Like, how can any keeper have fair enough, you're low on confidence, you may not be able to believe in yourself to pull off a worldly shot stop, but this is just simple, just your basic awareness and ability to catch a ball. You can't even do that.
A word for the travelling support as well, who were in magnificent voice, turned out in numbers despite our perilous position. James Nichols, you were supposed to be one of those travelling fans. I believe you didn't make it into the ground.
No, we
so you travelled down to Leeds. Recount us the tale of what happened, your folly to Leeds.
Down to Leeds, get there about 9-10 o'clock in the morning.
Pistol.
No comment.
I can't remember.
And going around the Leeds City Centre, a few bars and that, and then finally make our way to the ground, Ellen Road, but get about 2:45, about 5-10 minutes away from the ground. And we've been singing some songs on the way, but by this point we're just walking down, just surrounded by Leeds fans, and some Leeds fan comes up, only one of us is actually wearing a red and white shirt, and grabs him, and there's a scuffle. A couple more Leeds fans come over. One of my mates gets put in a hospital. The other one's in an ambulance. Absolutely knackered. 2 of them get arrested.
Laugh, really.
Police come over, straight over, and break everything apart. Put us to one side and give us Section 35 banning orders to get out at Leeds City Centre for 48 hours. Now, the police are obviously doing their job and were more than accommodating. If it wasn't for them, it could have been a lot worse because we were surrounded by Leeds fans. So I'll thank them for everything they've done, and they're just doing their jobs. At the end of the day, they didn't know what happened. That'll make it disperse. But it's just indicative. We've been to Millwall. Millwall got a bad reputation. Not a single thing happened. Not a single thing. There was banter back and forth on the train. No problems whatsoever. They were singing songs to us. We were singing songs to them whatsoever.
It's an unfortunate incident, really, because your mate didn't take too well to being punched in the face, really, did he? I think it was his first time receiving a blow, and sour grapes would sum it up.
Yeah, he's had a bit of a rough head today.
Yeah,
and but it's just indicative. Leeds, it was completely unprovoked. completely and utterly unprovoked. And I would say he's a football fan, but people like this aren't football fans.
No.
I said yesterday these fans give us fans the bad name. They're not football fans. They got their Section 35 to get away and they couldn't give a fuck. They could not care less if they were watching that game or not. They just wanted to see someone in red and white and wanted to have a go. They're not football fans.
It still goes on, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, in states where innocent people get. I always think, right, if people want to have a fight, just stick them together. You just get on with it. Leave all the innocent people out of it.
I mean, these things
do what they do in Russia. Obviously, James covers Russian football quite often, and they just let the hooligans go at it in Russia. They just give them some boxing gloves. It's
not great to see, but if that's what people want to do, give them a venue, let them get on with it. Leave the rest of us just to watch the football.
Outside a stadium like this, it's 5 minutes away from the ground. Russia's got the bad name, but outside the stadium like that, and the stadium in the city centre of Moscow, that won't happen. There's 2 miles of police with guns. There's absolutely no chance that's going to happen.
That makes you think twice.
Because we've kind of like moved away from this culture of the 80s, it's a bit more lax, and these obviously they get the one idiot who should know better.
Yeah,
it worries me for the World Cup because England fans have this reputation of being bad travellers because of a handful of like 1% of the group of people who will go and like say something or like start on somebody.
Yeah.
And that'll be the same Leeds fans that start on you. We don't want those going anywhere near Russia for the World Cup because they'll be the ones that end up starting. That
1% part's important as well because I did tweet yesterday like Leeds United fans are scum. It was just like a sweeping generalisation. Like it was after this, I was just pissed off I didn't get in the game. But like by all accounts, the majority of Leeds fans, like even ones we met beforehand in the pubs, were completely fine. We had good conversations. They were good people. So I'll have to stress it's just that 1% and that one idiot.
That 1% scum.
Yeah,
the 1% Leeds.
Leeds are 1% scum.
Right, we're going to take a quick promotional break so Nichols can recover from his tailor bow. We'll see you shortly. Right, hello, welcome back to the Roker Rapport Podcast. We'll jump into a Norwich and Reading little preview. Norwich are coming off a good victory over promotion chasing Aston Villa and sit 12th in the table, just a point above recent opponents Leeds United. The Friendship Trophy is again on the line, so what do we think the result will be and how will Coleman line up, Chris?
I can see us winning it actually. 1-0 in a tense affair. But I just think it'll be one of those things where the players have shown enough fight recently that we are going to go down, but we're going to go down with a fight, and I think we're going to push ourselves right until the last day of the season and see how close we can make it go. I think the players have got that in them. I've got a bit of faith for that. And
what is the Friendship Trophy for those that might not know?
It's a trophy that Norwich and Sunderland compete for every time we meet, and we're the current holders, obviously. And it began it was a League Cup final in
86,
85. I was there.
Oh,
show me age.
Right.
I was there.
It's 85 League Cup final between Norwich and Leeds. Lawrence and Sunderland. Got Leeds on the mind. Norwich and Sunderland. Who I think we lost that game with 1-0 own goal.
Yeah.
But the reason it began is because the Sunderland fans and Norwich fans were mingling all day, and apparently the atmosphere was wonderful. One of my favourite lines was from a newspaper where Norwich fans were singing, "We won the cup, we won the cup," and Sunderland fans responded with, "We scored the goal, we scored the goal." So it was just it's a nice story. It's a bit of positivity about
this in stark contrast to
it's a nice way to start the second half compared to the end of the first.
Norwich. What do you reckon for the Norwich game, Nichols? Pain or
formation wise, be the same. I think he's keep it the same as much as possible. The same. Maybe 1 or 2 personnel changes, but I don't know. Like by this rate, it doesn't matter anymore, does it?
Martin, what would you do if you're Chris Coleman for this game? What can he do?
Pray. No, I think he'll go out again, as you just said there. Hopefully the same sort of attitude, same sort of formation, and hope we defend better and score a few more goals. I think there'll be goals in it because I think we have to score. But when we have to score, I also see the other team scoring because it just opens us up, and around the pitch we ain't got a great deal of pace, so I could see it being a 2-2, a 3-2, something like that. Either way,
terrifying prospect of James Maddison coming up against.
That's exactly who's in my head. Yeah, I can see him scoring.
Good player, isn't he?
Yeah, very good, very talented, pacey, got a good turn, bit of trickery on him, and he's every single one of his strengths is about Catmull, and O'Shea's weaknesses are due. The fact they've gone.
How would we line up in terms of personnel and formation? Because there's a big debate among Sunderland fans: 4 at the back, 5 at the back. Does Coleman know what he's doing? Does he talk a good game? There's a lot of questions there, I realise. But
I've seen some questions about like people like saying, "Oh, well, should sack Coleman. He doesn't know what he's doing. If it wasn't for him, he wouldn't be in this position." Do they really want to sack another manager? What's sacking Coleman going to do at this point? We're going to go in and get Nigel Pearson with another sex scandal, eh? Like, what else can we do? He's going to sack a manager and just have the same cycle of shit again for another 5 years. For me, I don't know if I'm naive. I've mentioned it a couple of times in the piece, like on the site. I think Coleman's the man who can turn this around for us. I think he's not. We don't need a firebrand right now. We've already had that. That's been and gone. We could have done that last year instead of David Moyes. It's arsehole. Coleman. For now, we need somebody who can.
Emotional when he said that.
That was more emotion than the scum Leeds. That was. He really meant that one.
We need someone who can get an arm around these players. We can rebuild. We can focus around the youth, stick an arm around them, and change the negativity and the whole attitude around the players, which has been horrible for years. I mean, I wrote on the site recently, Poyet had this quote attributed to him, like this rotten core quote. He never actually said that. I don't know who said that. He didn't actually say that in his quote. And people would be like, oh, is this rotten core Catamol O'Shea? Is it this person, this person? For me, the rotten core is just the whole atmosphere at the club from top to bottom. It's completely changed. The only time it was any good was like those 6 months in Allardyce when he galvanised everyone together and then fucked off to England.
Martin, do you subscribe to this rotten core argument?
I don't think it's a rotten core. I think it's a whole sea change of attitude that needs to change at the club. I think that's what it is. As I say, there's a lot of strange stuff going on at that football club for the last God knows how many years, and stuff's got to change. And Chris Coleman, I think it was a huge coup for us when we got him, with his profile. And I think going down to League One, the size of the club we are, I know we're going down, but we're a big club and we're going to be the biggest club in that league. And with him as manager, we should be able to attract the best players who were in League One, League Two, you know. So I think it's positive he's there, and I think it won't be till next season we really see, when he has a pre-season with whoever he brings in his players. I think that's when you'll see what he's worth.
Yeah, the most important thing for me about Coleman is that he's like the first manager in quite a while that's publicly and reiterated and kept saying how much he wants to be at the club. He keeps saying it. We had Keith Downey and George Colkin on. They both said when they met him, they asked him like basically, why did you take the job? And he said, well, because it's a massive club and I want to be here. And that was privately. He wasn't even going and publishing that. That was just him talking honestly. So that's the most important thing for me. He wants to be here, and the players will get that, and that'll be infectious throughout the whole club.
Definitely. I think, as I said, just going back, the Moyes straight away, you just thought, you don't want to be here. Why are you here?
The worst thing
after that Middlesbrough game, and he come out, and whether he said it for the right reasons or about us being in a relegation battle, sort of neither in it, but you just got the feeling straight away. He didn't realise what he come into, and he didn't want to be here.
I think it was worse. I think he didn't just want to be here. He felt like he was doing us a favour for being here. It felt like we needed him more than he needed us. And there's just that plain arrogance. Like I boycotted some of the games in the last season. I refused to go. That's the first time I've ever done that. That man made me fall out of love with the team that I've supported for 20 odd years, and I will for the rest of my life. I'm not going to fuck off to South Shields like some Sunderland fans have. Like, just
shots fired.
Every shot fired. Son under your team, only get one team, and you can't swap.
Amen to that.
And it's like he made me fall out of love with my team, and I would never forgive him for that. Never. Martin,
how much would you want to play for a manager like Coleman, who seems to get what Sunderland's about, what the area is about?
I'd want to play for any manager at the minute. Struggling with my knees though. Yeah, no, it would be. As you say, he just gives off that air of somebody who knows what he's about. He's got a confidence in himself, and I would imagine he is a good manager to play for. He has a lot of belief, and I think he probably is once we get this season out of the way, I think he can start turning that and make the club sort of believe in themselves again and the players. So
you've done that with Wales. With Wales, the results were awful at first. I think he was on the verge of sacking after a 6-1 loss against Serbia. And then
I'm really annoyed because we're talking about Wales and Copley didn't bring it up.
I'm sat here with a smile on his face. Although Jimmy Lawson called me a fake Welshman on Twitter.
It's just a fake Macam.
No, well, just from just how important is it that just a slight nibble there? Just how important is it that Coleman stays next season?
I think it's crucial. Just because we're. I mean, you alluded to it earlier, Martin. Like we're the big fish in League One. We'll have the ability to attract players. If the club either sack Coleman, which would never happen, or if Coleman decides to walk, then that'll that'll be a warning sign to every single player, every agent, every potential manager. That even Coleman, who's just spent the last almost a year going on about how much he loves Sunderland and wants to be here, if even he wants to walk, then that'll just be nah, nobody would ever want to come near us.
There's so many variables that are up in the air for next season. The best thing that's happened in the last 6 months is him just coming out and saying, I'm going to be here.
Yeah,
come join me on this journey. There's no there's no worries over my future. I'm going to be here.
I think he'd be here. I'd be surprised. Nothing to surprise you, but I would, because I think he probably would have peeled out by now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And then I think, as I said, I can't see them sacking him, and I don't see him walking. Because I don't think he would have come here in the first place if he was going to walk. He could have held out for possibly a job in the Premier League.
We've also got a game at Reading on Saturday, which could have been a massive game for us if we'd managed to win against Leeds, but we didn't. What are your predictions for both games, Norwich and Reading? Do you think we'll draw one, lose one, lose one, lose one, lose them all?
I think we'll sort of. I can see us winning one of them. I think we might win the Norwich game, because as much as they've got crafty players, I think they're just a little bit. I don't rate them as a side at the moment. They're this sort of mid-table, not really got anything to play for anymore. I can just see them going, whatever, who cares. It's a bit of a non-game on Tuesday, and that's the type of game that we tend to, be able to come out with the type of passion we need to win, even though it's too late. Reading, they've still sort of got a bit of a relegation battle on, so I can see them probably nicking that. But
Score prediction for each. Put your neck on the line.
I'm just 1-0 Norwich, and then probably 2-1 Reading. Be heartbreaking last minute.
Nichols, what you saying?
I'm one of the most pessimistic Sunderland fans, so I just go and expect to lose every single game, and then if we win, it's a bonus. So, but I've just got. I know for a fact we're going to start winning now, and then Alexander Mitrovic is going to relegate us. 100%. You know that will happen. So we'll probably beat Norwich, maybe point against Reading, lose against Reading. I don't know. I haven't paid any attention to Reading. I don't think anybody ever pays any attention to Reading. It's just an industrial estate outside London, really. So just ignore them. But that's they ripped us apart at the Stadium Light, which is very worrying. Modou Barrow is a very talented player, and is exactly the worry. That's how he can get him behind us, and he worries me. But I think I'm going to say we're going to beat Norwich, because I'm going to be blindly optimistic for once.
Give me a score.
11-0.
11-0.
No, 1-0. I think we need that clean sheet, and I hope we can get that more than anything else.
I think there'll be an impetus on the clean sheet.
2-1 Reading.
2-1 Martin. What do you think?
I'll go 3-2. We'll beat Norwich, and I'll go with 2-1 at Reading, getting beat.
One step forward, two steps back, as usual. Well, we'll go on to some Twitter questions. Actually, we've got James Atkinson, who asks, is a Jaffa cake a biscuit or a cake? What do you think?
That's a question that's never been answered properly, is it?
Well,
it comes
has.
up all the time. Oh, it has.
It's a cake. It was.
I just must have got bored looking for the answer.
You might need it. Yeah, because legally you have to declare if it's a biscuit or a cake, and they were being taxed for it being a biscuit for years and years and years. So the company, I think it's McVitie's that own Jaffa Cakes, isn't it? So McVitie's went to court and said, no, we're a cake, proved they were a cake in court, and recouped all the tax money that paid.
I always thought it was a cake, so I feel vindicated, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't like them.
I'd never thought I'd ever use that bit of information. Here we are.
I'm pleased I got off my settee now. That's
the sort of quality analysis you get with Roker Rapport. Right, Damien Brown asks the more serious question: has the absence of Didier and Dong negatively impacted the midfield? Is the transfer at all justifiable? Didier and Dong hasn't appeared for Watford yet. I think he's been on the bench twice. Pointless transfer.
Yeah. To be fair, from Watford's perspective, Dong's got nothing on Decore and Capoue. They're just well out of his league. Decore is a very underrated player. He's so effective for Watford. But from our point of view, Dong wasn't the best player, but he was one of our most effective. He just has that energy and that stamina that nobody else in the team in midfield, apart from McNair, who's always injured, had. And he's kind of he's a massive miss purely because of the fact that who else have we had to replace him apart from people with no legs, no ability, or drunkards.
We've got a game on Tuesday now, and McNair's probably gonna have to play the next game, and he's just come back to full
3
fitness.
games in 7 days. We were
Exactly. You don't want to be asking a player like that to be playing back to back to back, but he's going to have to because we haven't got anyone to replace him.
It just shows how much we've missed him. Him and Watmore have definitely missed them all season. I know some people don't really like that opinion, but we've definitely missed them.
Oh Christ! Don't get me started on that. I tweeted at the weekend that our season could have been massively changed if we'd have had Watmore and McNair fit, which I don't think is unreasonable.
No.
Obviously, the goalkeeping situation hasn't helped, and a bloke, I can't remember what his name was, but he just went
don't need names.
absolutely ballistic with me on Twitter. So I called him out on it, and then he was offering people money to find me a dress. It was balmy, wasn't it?
It was fantastic.
We
I had a
found
good
folk
laugh.
if it tried.
It was a bit strange, but like I have where I work and stuff on my Twitter, so I had to take that off just in case, like just because you don't want some like
watch your
massive.
back.
We don't publish where we record this podcast, do we?
No, we don't. But you don't want
Just
some
as well.
massive royalty.
That'd be my luck. I'll get a clip walking outside of here.
Former SAFC player involved in brawl at university
Just a Leeds fan and that bloke outside.
with a man who's banned from Leeds City Centre.
It'll be a real PR coup for Martin Smith and Roker Rapport. One question I've got for you, Martin, is obviously you were around in the Reed area and Sunderland's golden era in recent times. What do you see differently from then to now, apart from bad players?
I was going to say players help make it. Reedy just got. I mean, we were relegated under Reedy to from the Premier League once, but there was never that real sort of downer like it is now. It's bizarre. It's just the way it is now. The whole match day experience has just totally changed. But I think with Reedy there was the belief. Obviously we had Super Kev, Quinney, Nicky Summerby, Alan Johnson, the players, and you just knew they were good players, and at some point it was going to click, and there was just a real desire from everybody. It was a really good team spirit, you know, forged sometimes off the pitch in a certain establishments, but we did that. But you always got the 100% on a Saturday. You know, that was the thing. How
good was that off the field culture? Because I listened to a Kevin Phillips interview with Graham Hunter, and he was talking about his time at Sunderland, and he said that off the field it was just brilliant because all of the lads got on and they genuinely liked each other. Yeah,
it was, as I say, just socially. But I mean, it was a different time then, so you could get away with it. I know even towards Reedy's end, the cans on the buses from away trips, that all stopped. So it did change. You know, the culture had to change a bit. But it was just you'd finish training, not every day, but sort of at the right times you'd get together, you'd go to the races, the gaffer maybe once, like every 2 or 3 months, you'd all be down like the seafront in the restaurant just together. You know, there was just loads of stuff that we always did together. You see, you're not going to get everybody who's sort of best mates all the time, but everybody did get on.
Just how fierce was Peter Reid? Chris mentioned we had George Culkin in a couple of weeks ago, and he said, as a quite young reporter, he wrote something and Reedy had him up against the wall at Roker Park, and Culkin was absolutely terrified. What was he like? He was.
If he said something, you listened and you did your best to carry it out. You know, he was fierce compared. I always remember it was probably when he first come, we did a 5-a-side, and Scotty shoulder barged him, and he's gone over, and Scotty was laughing, and like we didn't really know the gaffer so much then. Next time Scotty got the ball, 2 for them.
That Martin stuff.
Yeah. Fucking hell, what's going on here? And Scotty was supposed to be playing on Saturday. And that was when you thought, Jesus, this guy makes business.
Yeah.
You know, and there was just loads of little things like that. And as I say, I remember once he marched Rob McCaffrey. He used to work Sky Sports because the gaffer used to love his head tennis. And Rob had come in and he was standing watching them, and one ball was called out. Reedy wasn't out, and then Rob McCaffrey gets involved. No, it was out. The fucking hell, you! I was like, got him, marched him out the training ground. You know, you just didn't upset him. You know, he was just, as I say, just all the time. But he was just a born winner. You could see that and that had to come. Like, it just filtered through everybody.
I think he just fit Sunderland as well. Like,
it was. I mean, we were going
always
down that year. It's probably not as, because we're still at Roker, we didn't have the big stadium, and you could, like, now you go and it's empty. It's just like soulless at times, you know. It's quiet, but we were still at Roker. But we were going down, until he come in. That when we had the 7 games, but he just instant lift. As I said, he was great. And towards the end, I mean, the last 2 years, I think I barely played under Reading, and people always thought me and him didn't get on, but it wasn't, and I'd never say a bad word, not because I'm scared of him. But what he taught me so much and improved my game and different sides to my game, you know. And as I say, it was a real eye opener playing for him. It was great.
You mentioned
it was a great time.
Roker Park there as well. Because I've personally, sometimes when you look at this season, I know I had to have the Premier, I have stadium in the Premier League. We'd have the big ground to be the 10 years consecutive Premier League football. But now going back down to League One, playing probably Accrington and Stanley, AFC Wimbledon, you not sometimes think you wish that we just never left Roker Park.
Well, I was always a Roker man. I was born up going there, so I always loved it. I think the stadium, when it's full and everything's gone well, it's perfect. But as you say, next year people are going to be coming here. It's going to be like Wembley for them, so it's going to be that side of it as well. But again, Roker, we used to get 16,000, 17,000 in there times where it was bouncing, but you get 16,000, 17,000 in the stadium. It's horrible. It's quiet, isn't it? I think it's because you know what it was like not so long back.
I take you back to Roker Park, 1993, Luton Town. Your debut, your score. What's that like for a local lad?
Yeah,
you lived the dream, didn't you?
Yeah, I'd never even been in a first team squad up to then. There's been a few sort of murmurs of my being involved, and then I didn't find out till the morning of the game, which was probably good because I wouldn't have been able to sleep. And Butch just put us on. He says, you're on free kicks, and then we got one where we'd been practicing in the morning, and then just to strike it. I think Peter, you talk to people now, and it was 25 yards out, top corner. It wasn't. I hit it. I had my head down, hit it, and now the keeper never saved it. It sort of goes through everything. But it was.
Is it one of those goals that's got better?
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, and then to all my friends and everybody, my mum and dad's there, and just to say it was just fantastic. It was. I say it. Sometimes it seems like yesterday, and other times it seems like it wasn't even me. It's what I mean.
What's it like going from the difference of standing in the Fulwell end, watching the lads play, and then being one of the lads playing, watching the fans in the Fulwell end?
It was great. Yeah, it was crazy.
Surreal.
Yeah, I mean, I used to love, because then we didn't really have a training ground, so you used to go into Roker Park every day, and that's a place I just love, and just to go down the back of the Roker end, and just kick the ball against the back, against the walls, and that it was fantastic. I absolutely loved it.
Can't imagine Lamine Kone kicking the ball against the stadium alive.
Nah, I know. But again now, because my mum and dad still live forward, and I'm around Roker Park, and just when it's not there, you know what I mean, you go past and all them memories. But time waits for no man. Yeah. But it was special to do it. Really was. Just being a Sunderland lad, and all my friends used to go to away games, and you'd see them and all that. It was fantastic.
One of the amusing anecdotes Graham got in an interview with you for Roker Report, I'd encourage all of the listeners to go and have a read. It's very good. You were called up to the England under-21 squad.
Yeah.
And you played, I think it was at St James's Park, wasn't it? And you were booed throughout. What was that?
As soon as I mentioned my name, and then I come on, boos. It's just, every time I got the ball. But actually, I played well when I got on. But I didn't want them cheering me, so I wasn't bothered, but it was great. You seen certain people, Sunderland tops on, and it was fantastic.
Brave.
I know it was, yeah. But Kevin Keegan was manager at the time for the 21s, simply because it was at Newcastle. He was manager of Newcastle, but he was absolutely fantastic as well. He was. There's just, I don't know whether it's true, but somebody, John Cairns, who used to be Radio Newcastle, he told me that Newcastle put a bid in for me after that, because I trained with Keegan, and he says that they put a £1.5 billion bid in. I got turned down. Yeah, but as I say, I never found out if it was actually true, but let's see. But I was at Newcastle as a young lad before Sunderland took an interest, so from the age of 10 I think it was to 14. There was the excellence school then, so you trained one night a week, so you used to go through there, and Gazza used to train us on a Monday night. Yeah, because he's frightening, but he was in the first team then. Yeah. But they like to keep an eye on him, so they used to bring him in on a Monday night to train with under 12s and under 13s. So that was a great experience as well, getting to train with him. But I'd say when I got to 14 and Sunderland sort of showed more of an interest, that was it. That was job done.
There's a lad called Steve Beattie on Twitter asks Martin about the Ivan Drago telephone call when I was out on the drink with him post 3-0 Newcastle game. I don't know if that means anything to you. But
I remember making a phone call something about Drago. But then if we'd won 3-0 against Newcastle, I'd have been absolutely off the planet.
Yes.
So,
I think everyone was that night.
I remember seeing a photograph and I'm thinking, I'm sure that was before the game, and I'm thinking, how did you make it to the game? I looked absolutely wrecked.
I think we can all sympathise with that. Any questions for Martin, lads?
Just about, do you think that Peter Reid would work in today's dressing room, or would he just be an absolute powder keg where you go on?
That's a tough one. I think with the top level Premier League players, I think it would be hard to get away with what he did with us now.
Yeah.
I still think maybe it's League One, League Two, when the players you haven't got the multi-million-pound deals to fall back on. I think he'd still definitely get a reaction from the likes of them. But I think, as I say, I think his time, you ever see his name comes up every now and again when there's frequently a job on the go here. It's, I don't think it will work and come back now.
No.
I mean, it was great while it was going on, but let's say time moves on. I think that's the ship sailed.
Can't imagine Lamine Kone putting up with
I mean, there's times I look at it and think, I would love Reid to get hold of you lot. You know what I mean? And really,
him and Sacco.
because I see stuff that they taught me about defending, and you see some of the stuff that's happening, and you think, how can you get away with that? You know, but it just, you had players in your team then like Borley. If you didn't do a job, Borley would have you.
Yeah,
and if he didn't get you on the pitch, the gaffer would have you when you got off the pitch. You know what I mean? So you had to do your stuff.
So what was it? Kind of a fear of doing wrong? Do you think?
I mean, you wanted to keep them on board, obviously, but it was because the team was so good and tight. You do it for your mate as well.
Yeah,
you know,
was that what Reedy was more like? It wasn't just like, he was obviously the gaffer, but he was like one of the lads as well as the gaffer.
Was, but you knew there was a line you couldn't cross. Bobby got on great with everybody. He was a laugh. He was life and soul. But even with Bobby, you knew there was a line you didn't cross. So they had that respect. But also you got on with them as well.
We've obviously all seen insight into the dressing room with Premier Passion documentary.
It's wild, man.
What was that like?
You forgot the cameras were there after a while. You know what I mean? Because the gaffer never changed as well. You see some of the stuff that's said on there, and even like the girl I'm with now, she'll, if I do something, weak as piss, you. You know what I mean? And it's that sort of stuff that's on there. That sort of thing, he never changed. So it just become part of the natural sort of surroundings.
A lot of people have been saying, like, don't know Sunderland, be like, oh, you done it for the camera. It's like,
no, absolutely not at all. No, as I said, and there's times, I think there was one he walked, I think it was Arsenal, because he had to go Bridgie and I think Russ for not being strong enough, and they were up against Martin Keown and people like that. And then he slams the door and he walks out, and you can still hear him chuntering away as he goes in the next room. Then fucking sees, you know what I mean? It's like that was him. But again, sort of next day, unless you really crossed the line, it was always forgot about.
You mentioned before, like old interviews earlier on the day, like it was the belief that really put into you, like he gave you. Can you see like a lot of parallels with Coleman in that aspect?
I would think so, from what I see, I think he believes, and as I say, hopefully he does. He gets the time to implement everything, because he has come into a tough situation. There's no doubt about it. So hopefully he does.
Because I think the two are both kind of like very similar yet very different. Both like
there's
similar
a belief.
moral,
Like both, you can see the belief in them.
There's an authority about them as well.
Definitely.
They both have an aura. They just project it differently.
Yeah, the thing is, really, everybody knew the job. It was like a 4-4-2, and you knew your job. You know, so anybody could go in and you just knew. You just say balls come in the box, you knew the defenders had to come and get at it, and the people would stick their bodies on the line.
There's also just change of football since then, obviously, because in the 90s that's just what English football was.
Yeah, so. I mean, you'd have to see it, get nostalgic, but you look at Reedy's team then. I sort of just, I'd left in '99, and the team that finished 7th to like. You look the year Leicester won, that team would have won the Premier League. Like, I think Reedy's were Quinny when Kev was firing, you know, Stefan Schwartz come in, people like that. You think that team then would have won the Premier League. just the way he had them playing, it was just fantastic. They say my last 2 years there, didn't play a lot of games, but you couldn't knock on the door.
Yeah.
You couldn't say, Gaffer, I should be playing. Who should be you playing out of? Quinny, Kev, Alan Johnson, Nick Summerby. You know what I mean? You just had to wait.
Yeah.
How hard was it? Did it do your head in at the time?
It did.
Obviously, you
At the
always
time,
wanted to play.
I'd been playing, and then sort of everything for me was like an upward curve, and then it sort of just it flattened out. And it wasn't sort of till I left I realised I'd sort of stagnated, and in hindsight I should have left the 2 years previous. He got us to sign another 2. I should have left earlier.
What was it like leaving?
It wasn't as hard as I thought. I knew because I should have went before, so I was ready to go. You know,
I can
he
imagine
wanted
if it was
to stay.
in 97, it would have been pretty hard.
Yeah, but it was the time was right to go in the end. You know, but I ended up going with Adrian Heath, who was my reserve team manager at Sheffield United.
You still get the Son of Pele crack. Do you know where the nickname came from?
I think it was Martin McFadden, who was a Love Supreme.
Oh yeah, Martin.
Yeah, because he started the T-shirt. He
The old SOP one.
Yeah, it was SOP. It was. He reckons he come to Roker Park one day, and I was standing like he come to take photos or something, and I was standing at the bottom of the foreland, and I had 3 balls, and I says, "Oh, I'll bend them down into the tunnel from here," and I did it, and I think it was something like just as simple as from the guy. He's like the Son of Pele or something, and it stuck, and then they made the T-shirts. Yeah. You know, but it's followed us everywhere.
We've had a bit of Brazilian theme on former players now, with yourself and Danny Collins on.
What's Danny Collins?
So Danny Collins have always had this song. You had the old Danny Collins for Brazil he plays song, and then both players have had on Brazil theme.
Yeah, a nice Brazil theme. Where do you think? To end it, we'll go around the table. Expectations for next season. Should we be thinking about coming straight back up as champions, check a trade trophy winners? Should we do the clean sweep, unbeaten in League
Do the
One?
quadruple.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right, I mean, we've got to hope that Martin Bain's got something right, and he's got some finances there for Coleman to play with. No, that's exactly it. It's a big if, but if we have got the money to spend and Coleman brings the squad in, then yeah, absolutely, we should be looking to do that.
I think we've found our level. Like we're a Premier League. For now, we're a Premier League club with Championship players and League One finances. Only Blackburn and Wigan spent more than us last season from League One. We just can't compete. The Championship's now like a Premier League light. You have to spend 60 odd mil just to get out of the fucking thing. We don't even have 60 odd mil coming into the club at any yearly rate.
Borough look like they're struggle if they don't go up.
Yeah, and we're fucked. But I'm excited for next season. I think it's got to be like challenged to go straight back up again.
It'd be nice to win, won't it?
Yeah, it'd be nice to see us win more than one game in a row.
Some football matches, like.
But like, I'm excited for it. Like, I shouldn't be. I should be excited.
Some good away trips.
Exactly.
You know, if they got Leeds again, that's a bonus.
Exactly, perfect. Accrington Stanley's just like caged at the away end.
Yeah.
Luton Town, you go through the away end, buy some Cockney sitting room.
Obviously, I never got to go to Roker Park because I was born in '94, so. It'll be interesting to see if I can get to like a Roker Park style ground in League One.
But hopefully we can drag Burton down with, because that's the best away game I've had this season.
Yeah,
it was brilliant.
Didn't get punched.
No, I didn't get smacked. Didn't get banned from the town. No, it's the home of Carlin, so it's like cheap pints all over. There's 14 pubs through the train station.
Carlin's piss water.
Aye, but it's £2 a pint in Burton.
I'm sure it's actually from Canada and all, like the company that owns it. But
yeah.
never mind.
Well, it's the breweries on Burton on Trent. There's £2 a pint in the town. There's 14 pubs through the train station and the ground. It's a terrace. It's amazing.
Nice.
And we won 2-0 and James Vaughan scored.
I cupped his ears to the bastard fans.
It was great.
The last time we were down, it was obviously we signed Marco, so it was fantastic. The away games, Sunderland used to go. They used to take over the stadiums. Yeah. It was good. You know, I mean, times moved on and we had Roker and then, but it was, if you're winning football matches, I think a lot of it, as long as you're playing well and you're winning, it'll be enjoyable.
We just want to see results and people who care.
Yeah.
I saw a fantastic picture on that away day fans Twitter account. I think it was Colchester fans at Notts County, but there was about 5,000 of them, and they just took up the entire width of the pitch in that stand.
You get big
that would be something next season.
We used to go, like, as I say, when I was a supporter then, and you'd have a weight behind the goal down the sides, and they just absolutely spun. I think a lot of people next year, as long as we start well, that'll be it.
I think we can get some wins
loving
together,
the away trips.
And what I feared for a while, like when I was a kid, it was the Reed era. So like, I grew up in like golden age. It was a proper good generation. So that set me up for life. I was never going to fall out of love for Sunderland again after that, no matter how shit it was. But I fear now that we might have lost a generation.
Yeah,
Like,
that's my only feeling.
Bigger teams coming through, and like kids like wearing Barcelona shirts instead of Sunderland ones.
Yeah, why would you want to go? I mean, it's expensive to go, isn't it? Why? As a kid,
but
them days you didn't have football all over the TV as well, so that was you went to the game on a Saturday afternoon. Now, as you say, that the next generation, it's all on the telly, isn't it? You just, why would you go and watch Sunderland?
To the club's credit, they've announced that under 8s go for free next season.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, they have to. Free. I think they've detected that. Just what we're talking about. They're just going to lose people
Hopefully
on board.
they listen to the podcast. You never know. Possible. If Martin Bainey listening, I don't like you. Right.
But can you send us some free stuff? Cheers.
Yeah. If you want to buy Roker Report, then go
not him.
We wouldn't sell out a Martin Bain, not a million years. Right. As always, big thanks to our guest Nichols. Cheers for coming on despite your palaver in Leeds.
Love Sunderland, mate.
Yeah. Chris, cheers for producing the show and being on mic.
Absolutely, anytime.
And thank you to Martin as well, mate.
No worries.
Thanks for coming on. Would you come on again?
Definitely.
No pressure to say yes, of course.
No. I just realised that when I said I was the Masters is on, I think, why have I said it? So I'll let us check my diary a bit more what the sporting events are on. So, but I'll definitely come back on.
Nice one, thank you very much. Remember to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Acast, and follow Roker Report on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, where you'll be able to catch the latest episode of Roker Report TV. I've been your host, James Copley, and thank you very much for listening.